Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing our mid-house build walkthrough. And what we did, and we wanted to give you guys kind of a heads up, is a couple different things that we do when we get to this part where we're pre-drywall. So we go through and we photograph every wall of every room. We go through and we label it so we know where all the pipes are running, we know where all the electric's running, we know what's in the ceiling, what's running through the ceiling, because we're planning on doing a specialty ceiling through here. And as we'll show you, there's like water lines that run through the ceiling, and we certainly don't want to put a screw up through one of those water lines and have it leak into our brand new house. And so those are the things that we're doing in our pre-drywall walkthrough, is doing some of that photography. The other thing we did is we paid for an inspection. You don't have to do this, it's optional, but they catch things that you wouldn't know as just a normal person. It's from a building process. So if you're missing, like we're actually missing a ceiling fan outlet box in one of our rooms. We probably would have caught that on our walkthrough, but it's something that was nice that we caught. The other thing is we had a couple places where there was more fasteners from the ceiling joists that should be added. And so, you know, our home inspector guy caught that. He also looks and sees if any of your 2x4s and things like that from your framing are bowed. Because if they're bowed out, then when they put drywall on there, you're going to see a kind of a bend out in your drywall because of that. So he went through and he marked the ones that are bad so that they can be replaced by the builder before we put the drywall on. That stuff like that can just impact what the finished product looks like. Okay, so this is where our living room is. And you can see our fireplace here. We plan on doing like coffered ceilings in here or something like that, right? And when we came in here, we went, hey, look at that. There's a can light and a can light. We planned on running like basically a beam of the coffered ceiling right through the middle of this. And as you can see, there's a water line. So the blue and red are your hot and water lines that are running into your house. Well, that, if we hit those, that's very bad. There's also a lot of power lines that run through there. And so you can see those, they're all really running exactly where we want to put the structured beam. So we have to make sure that when we're actually putting those in the ceiling, we don't go through that 2x4, because anything thicker than that 2x4 has a potential of puncturing one of those water lines. So we're going to photograph this. We're also going to measure this really well prior to actually doing any work. We're going to measure it so we can actually put on paper on a grid. Holly's great at this. She's going to grid out our whole ceiling so we know exactly where we're putting each of our boxes. We'd like to see if we can box in each of these can lights. So it'll be like kind of a ceiling box, can light in the middle, ceiling box, can light in the middle, and we're going to do that through this whole room. So another thing that we just went through when we checked is where all of our power boxes, our extra power boxes were, where our spigots are, things that we chose in the design center and we chose earlier on that we're like, what did we do there? We had to go back through and look at our paperwork. One thing that we know we didn't do is put this gas line here. And so the gas line's supposed to be as close to the garage. In the garage, actually, it would be the best, but they won't do that. So it should be on the actual other side of this entire wall, so that it can be buried and then at some point our pool filter and heater can use that gas line, but it's going to be on the back side of the garage. So this is wrong. And you want to catch that, of course, before they do the drywall, before they actually do any of the insulation there, before they actually do the siding on the house. You want to get that caught so that you can get that adjusted ahead of time. So there's other places too where our home inspector caught where there was like small tears where they either bumped it with something or whatever in your house wrap. And this house wrap is like making sure you don't get moisture up against your wood, behind your walls, things like that. So all these little places like this have to be repaired and they have to be taped up. And so this is what things like this are stuff that you definitely want to catch prior to having the outside siding put on the home. The other thing that he caught, which is great, is all the places where the flashing tape wasn't quite down. So if it wasn't quite tight. So any of that too, around your windows, you know, a lot of times when you hear about people's windows leaking, it's because they didn't put the flashing tape on right, or it's got a mark in it, or it's cut or something like that. So he found all the different places where the flashing tape needs to be adjusted as well. So the other thing that we go and check, because this happened on our previous house, is somebody forgot to plumb the window. So the window was crooked. And we could see it because it was down a long, narrow hallway, and the window was just like this. And so you saw it every time you walked by. Well, by the time we saw it walking through it, they had to pull bricks off the back of the house. They had to pull the window out. They had to pull drywall. They had to fix that. So if you see anything where a window doesn't look quite right, like this one doesn't look quite right, and I think it's because the header is a little bit off, but it looked like it was crooked. And so if you see anything like that, going in, you want to see if we can get those adjusted and ahead of time as well. So also walking through, we noticed some different areas where the floor was not leveled. And we've walked through some homes, recently built homes, where you walk through and you felt sponginess to the floor. And so like we noticed here, going through here, that this isn't level. So it dips here and it goes all the way across. So the beam that's under this one must be a little bit lower than the two beams on the side. So that's something they need to adjust, because otherwise you're always going to constantly feel that little dip in the floor. So our home inspector didn't catch that, which we should talk to him about, but we noticed it walking through it ourselves. So when you walk through, you almost got to be aggressive with the things that you're looking for. Okay, one thing we're always looking for is areas where we can add some additional storage. And so they wouldn't do this for us. We tried to get them to do this for us, but as you can see underneath both the stairs here, there's a lot of room for storage and we need it. And so what we're gonna do is, after we move in, we're gonna cut through the drywall, which should be nice and scary for us, brand new house. Then we're gonna put a header in here that will actually join, so it'll give the extra support so we can cut these out. And then we'll have a little door put in where we can actually get back there, and we can use all of this area under the stairs for storage. So that's what we plan on doing for this.
So that's why it's really important that we photograph it before drywall, so we know exactly where everything is.
Yeah, and there's nothing in here. So the other part is to look for what's in here. So there is our technology box for internet and all those cables is on the other side of this. Nothing's on this side. So as long as we keep it that way, we can cut this middle 2x4 out. All we really need to do is cut out this one middle 2x4, and then we'll put a door in, and then we'll basically, like I said, put a header through here just to give it that extra strength that we need. Okay, so that's it. So as a suggestion, if you're building a house and you're going through your house, take a lot of pictures of all walls, all ceilings, make note of everything. We actually kind of draw up like the measurements and things like that for everything too, so we know approximately where everything is. Obviously things will be a little bit different with drywall, but it's good to have an approximation of that. Plus, having that house inspection done is really worth it. It cost us $390 to do this pre-inspection, and there were some things that we caught that I thought were really good, and there's some things that was like, oh, okay, like they're gonna fix it. If they see a broken window, they'll fix it. But it's worth the $390 for the peace of mind. So you had somebody else go through it, plus the builder will have to adjust and fix anything that's mentioned on that, or at least have a discussion about it. So that's it. Subscribe to our channel, give us a thumbs up. Super thanks is always welcome. We could always use a coffee, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.